major religions of the world, including Christianity, have roots in the given culture and in the shamanism of that culture.
To start our ceremonies, we open our circle. We praise to our Lord, our God, and we ask to start our ceremonies in a good way. We point to the 4 different directions, to the 4 different corners. We honor 4 elements: water, air, fire, and earth.
And then there's the universal Tao, the Tao of the way of eternity. And then there's the way of nature. And then thirdly, the way that we should live. And then ultimately it gets turned into a law. Neolin in Lenape means enlightened, and most of the languages have, some word. In Algonquin languages, it's usually something like Neolin, meaning enlightened, that you see in your current everyday vision, you see the oneness of all life. So how do they do that? Well, some of the Zen and Oriental, if you say Asian practices, can be done indoors, whereas Native Americans didn't spend a lot of time indoors. Most of their techniques are outdoors. They're based on looking at things in nature, such as a blade of grass, which again is used in Asia, a waterfall, or looking at running water, or holding stones and meditating on the stones. I found that Native Americans' meditation practices are consistently used, systematically if you want to say, but it's each person's own feeling about it. It's very individual, but it often involves a natural object. And waterfall meditation is very common. It's not really been written about, but this is how they would meditate. And also, they might play a flute or a drum and they meditate on that, which is shamanism also. So it's involved in the act of doing things and the act of being in nature and reaching that state of enlightenment through the very slow motion sometimes of the natural world. All waterfalls are very sacred to native people of spiritual ilk, and it's not, again, written about a lot, but when I did a study for Henry Hudson and the Algonquins, I asked a number of elders, and they all emphatically agreed that waterfalls were sacred places to Native Americans. And that while you were there, one of the things you can do is take a certain drop of water and just follow its path all the way down until it hits the bottom, and then you start over again. And it's very meditative. It very quickly brings you into a relaxed state of consciousness, a single-pointed focus, which is very effective. In my way of expressing it, and there's generally one God, and it is often quite distant. Like, for example, the Lenape, Kishilamukung, the one who dreams us into being, is seen as being very distant. Whereas Wamatakanisha, who was the little boy with the bow and arrow, he's considered very present and very, very helpful. So there is one God in a sense, plus there is a great spirit which is different than a creator. But that's not considered a violation of monotheism. And then you have all of these various animal spirits, ancestral spirits, manitous, if you will, land spirits, very powerful land spirits, thunder beings. All of these are considered very immediately helpful, and they don't contradict with the concept of monotheism because there is generally a single creator. Like, for example, in Mi'kmaq or Micmac, Gizul is the creator. It doesn't have male or female characteristics, but it is the one God, and it's very powerful. But there are hundreds of other deities, lesser deities. And of course you find that in Hinduism. Is Hinduism monotheistic? Well, in some ways it is. But I would say there was one God in most native spiritual cosmologies. There is one, usually. But for example, if you get into details, it's difficult to just simplify it because the Shawnee split from the Lenape because the Shawnee have Kokumthina, which is a female grandmother god that they felt was more powerful in their lives than the male. This is according to some oral tradition. And so they have one god, but it's a different one than Lenape. So in each case, you got to look. There's always some special little difference, you see. I wrote about that in No Word for Time, and I've experienced it, I've seen it. There's Arugat in Micmac. Arugwit is a story, it's a medicine story that teaches a lesson. Sometimes it could be a very hard lesson, and it's very effective, but it takes a certain artist to pull it off in order to turn someone's life around, but I've seen it done. And what they'll do is they'll start telling that person a story that begins as if it's to entertain them. And so they're open to it, and they become very interested in the story, and then the storyteller, the Arugatin master, turns it around and starts to talk about them and what they're doing that needs improvement. And it never talks about them, and it never talks about the incident in specific, but it gets so obvious, and it gets passionate, and it gets tough, and people cry, and it can turn their life around. That's just one way that our traditions can turn evildoers, so to speak. We don't know the word evil, but those who are causing trouble into good citizens. And this is one of many. But we didn't have jails, as you know. We didn't have insane asylums. We had autogarten. Everybody has a number of animal spirits and bird spirits that they can access for slightly different reasons. There's a power animal, maybe one there has an opposite characteristic to you. Like, for example, if you have poor eyesight, the eagle can help you. The spirit of the eagle help you see better. If you're a weak person or afraid, the bear spirit can help you. Although bears retreat, but they're strong. So that's like a power animal for you personally. But there's also totem animals, and that has to do with your clan. It's a clan animal. There's animals that come to you in visions and show you how to help yourself. And animals' powers are very much a part of Native American culture and spirituality. So there's quite a number of options in terms of contacting animals, but it's certainly central to shamanism worldwide and central to Native American culture, which is part of why people use the word shaman. You were talking about your power animal, you look at your self-honest assessment and you say, well, I'm really not very good at blank, right? Like, for example, maybe you're not a good storyteller, and Crow has storytelling medicines, right? Maybe you're not good at, like gatherings, the crows are helpful at gatherings. Bears, they give you that opposite strength. But in terms of what your animal spirit is, that isn't really a formula for that. You go on a vision quest for that, and that's usually fasting. In our culture, we fast a lot and go on into a survival ordeal, what's called an ordeal or sunewin, where you're humbling yourself. So you really have to humble yourself before animals, because we tend to think we're better and So it's important to get into that humble state. Fasting helps that, and also going through that ordeal and asking for that spirit to come to you. And your ancestors, this is one thing I want to bring up. Maybe not everybody wants to hear this, but if your ancestors are shamans, it really helps when you can contact your ancestors and their shamans. I have been fortunate because I have one like that. If you've been in the European tradition that's been non-shamanistic for 2,000 years, you have maybe a little bit tougher, but it's still possible. Okay, but your ancestors can help you find that spirit animal and also help you directly. And that is part of why I think with Native Americans you see a lot of success with these what we call shamanistic techniques, because they can contact their immediate ancestors who maybe have passed on. They can help them. So not everybody wants to hear that.
Yeah.